Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Welcome back to another episode of the Work From Home Show. I'm Naresh Vissa along with Adam Schrader. We're both working from home today. I'm coming to you from Tampa, and Adam, as always, is coming from Austin, Texas. Adam, how are things down south?
Locked in place.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, on today's show, we're going to talk about a topic. It's very important to me because it's something that you and your children are probably going to remember for the rest of your lives and their lives. And it's something that I remember. And that is during a time of crisis, leading your family in a way that leads in a good example. And so what I mean by that is, look, homies, most of you are working from home right now. You're listening to this show because you are working from home. And we're in a crisis. We really are in an unprecedented global health crisis, economic crisis. A lot of you, we've gotten your emails. You're not even sure if you're even going to have a job next month. So I think it's just very, very important that parents lead the way and they lead by example during this crisis in a very positive way. And Adam, do you have any thoughts before I get into an example?
My thought is that I agree with you so far.
Okay. Well, let me try to explain what I mean by this and share an example. So I grew up in Houston, in Texas.
H-Town.
I grew up in Houston, and while we were growing up, there weren't too many hurricane scares. But all of a sudden, I would say like post-2000, really post-Katrina, the hurricane scares started coming. And it's been continuing. As we know, 2.5 years ago, just a horrible hurricane ravaged the city of Houston. But back in 2005, about a week or two after Hurricane Katrina, there was a hurricane that was on pace to hit Houston. And this hurricane was called Hurricane Rita. And at the time, I must have been 16 years old, I think, at the time. So I was in high school. And first off, the country and really that kind of southern part of the United States, they felt the effects of Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
They felt it pretty hard. And we felt it in Houston because a lot of those survivors from New Orleans, they made their way down to Houston. I mean, really, Houston has become a very different city from what I remember it was in the 90s. But they came down, and then all of a sudden, about a week after Katrina, or 10 days after Katrina, there's this panic about Hurricane Rita, and it's like, oh my God, it's going to hit Houston. We're next. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be badder. And it was a time of crisis. And I just remember during that time, look, I had never been a part of a hurricane. I didn't really know anything. I didn't really have any opinions on the news media either. Now I have a lot of opinions. I mean, our listeners probably know. I'm sure our listeners know that. But back then, I kept a very open, clear, kind of naive mind. And I just remember there was just panic everywhere. Oh my God, the hurricane's coming. We're all going to die. We're screwed. Our houses are going to get destroyed. What do we do? Do we leave? There are people getting stranded on the roads. They're running out of gas. People are starving to death. It's really hot outside, and I don't want to use the AC because it's going to use the gas in my car. It was a time of turmoil, really, kind of similar to right now, Adam. And that's why I want to talk about this on the episode. And I remember I just remember how my father handled the situation. And he kept a very cool and calm demeanor. I never saw him flustered at all. I just felt really safe and secure and trusting that, as long as my dad's around, I'm going to be okay. And whatever decision he makes is going to be the right decision. And so what ended up happening was after all these people started leaving Houston and evacuating. The mayor of Houston at the time, his name was, I don't quite remember his name, but anyway, the mayor of Houston came out and he said, it is now too late to evacuate. It's too risky. If you were to evacuate, you don't want to run the risk of getting stranded on the road, and then the hurricane's just going to come and blow you away.
Bill White.
Bill White. It was probably Bill White. Yep, Bill White. Mayor Bill White. His daughter went to my high school, but that's another story. So Mayor Bill White says this, and that was like maybe 9 p.m. on a like Wednesday night, and obviously schools are all shut down and work's shut down. So my dad was like, "All right, first thing in the morning, we're packing our bags right now as if we're never going to come back home. And at 5 a.m., we're getting in our car and we're driving to Austin where it's safe over there." And so we packed up our bags because the hurricane was not scheduled to hit, I want to say, until like later that Thursday, like late night, really late night. So if we were to leave 5 a.m., and if it took, generally it takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes from our house in Houston to get to Austin. And we thought, okay, it'll probably take like 4 or 5 hours to get to Austin because of if we run into any traffic or anything.
Yeah.
Well, we wake up in the morning, 5 a.m., we have all our bags, we get in the car, we pack up, boarded up our house, and they opened up this contraflow lane. So now you had extra lanes on the freeway. And when we went, like legitimately, there were almost zero cars on the freeway. And there were almost zero cops. Like on that contraflow lane, there were no cops there. So we flew. And I know that you probably know that LaGrange area between Austin and Houston where people generally drive really fast and get pulled over for speeding, because that's happened to me. There were no cops anywhere. And we were in Austin, no joke, in an hour and 45 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, man, all those people who left earlier and it took them, 24 hours, 30 hours just to get to Austin, like, what the heck were they thinking? Well, they didn't have the leadership that my dad had. That's what they didn't have. And so I paid close attention. I mean, the fact that I'm telling you this story 15 years later just kind of shows how much I remember this. But the amazing thing, Adam, was because we were doing this, we meaning my parents told like maybe two of their friends. So like my dad told like one of his friends and my mom told like two of her friends that we were doing this. And it's like a swarm of my parents' friends did the same thing just because it's like, oh, well, they're doing it, so we should do it too. And all of them, same thing. They flew down the freeway, got to Austin, got sheltered. They all either knew somebody to stay with or they figured it out for themselves. And it was just pretty incredible to see how nobody was doing anything. Everyone was just kind of confused. And then when my dad was like, all right, we're going at 5 a.m., all these people just said, okay, we'll do it too. And they just started following his lead. And so the main lesson that I want people to take away is with this Wuhan virus, there's a lot of fear, a lot of panic. People are going crazy. Just watch the videos of the folks in grocery stores getting into fights, and you see their kids watching their parent. You see little 5-6-year-olds watching their mother fight with other mothers over toilet paper. And is that the type of lesson that you want to teach your kids during a time of crisis? This is the way we handle things? Or do you want to do things a different way? And I just think it's important for everybody to pay attention to this and to think about it, because you are working from home. And so if you're working diligently and your kid sees you working diligently, they're taking notes, whether they're 4 years old or 14 years old. They're taking mental notes in their mind. And you being at home, now you're spending so much time with them. Your being at home is going to influence really how they're going to act in the future.
Yeah, the one that came to mind for me is a little different scenario than yours. It taught me a little bit of a different lesson. And mine was whenever I was 5 years old, we were living in Austin, and it was the mid-'80s, and the economy just collapsed. And my dad had a custom framing company that he ran. Well, I say company, it was a solopreneurship. And so, surprisingly, when the economy tanked, nobody had need for custom framing. in their home or their office, because that's an expense that's going to go away. And so, I mean, obviously I didn't know a whole lot of this. I knew kind of in general what was going on. But next thing I know, my dad's going out for job interviews to look for anything, basically. And so when I knew he was doing interviews, and next thing I know, we packed up and we moved to Long Beach, California. And my dad had taken a job there doing corrosion protection, which is something he hadn't done since I think like he got out of college or something like that, maybe a little few years after that. So we just packed up, and my mom had never seen the house that we were going to live in. She knew when we got there she would look for a job, but she trusted that my dad was doing the right thing, picking a good job, and going to find us a good house to live in. And my dad decided, this is what I need to do for my family. And so we just packed up. Nobody in our family had ever lived in California. I think at that time, I don't know if my mom and dad had ever really even visited California, but we moved out there. And, it turned out great. We lived there for 6 years before we came back to Texas, but it worked out just fine. And what that taught me then is seeing what my dad did immediately after and what my mom did in that situation stayed with me, because my dad, he made the decision. He said, you know what? I don't care where it is. I don't care necessarily what it is. I'm going to get something and I'm going to provide for my family. And my mom, my dad, it was the leadership of, I'm going to do what I can where I can. And I took that to heart whenever I got married, and Erin was trying to decide kind of where to go to grad school, because she was going to go to nurse the CRNA school. And I didn't care. I just said, you know what, wherever you want to go, wherever you get into, we're going there, because I have faith that we can make it work, because I saw my dad do it. I knew, if we go to this place, I can find a job. If we go to that place, I'll find a job. And it's one of the things now, if her job gets bad, we've joked before, she's like, hey, would you want to go live in this little town out in this rural area? And I'm just like, sure. I can find work, I can find clients, I can do that. But on my mom's side, it really taught me the trust that's needed in relationships, and the trust that you have to have in your significant other, no matter who it is. The fact that she went out there and she'd never met the people at my dad's new company. She'd never seen the house that we were moving to. We didn't know anybody in Long Beach. It was just her trust that he was going to do the right thing. And that situation has stuck with me for a long time and made me willing to do things that I might not have been willing to do if I hadn't have seen that.
And guess what, Adam?
What?
What you just said, that trust, your father's kind of persistence to do anything and everything, even if it meant moving halfway across the country to provide for his family, and how that rubbed off on you. And the trust that you and your wife now have, that's going to rub off on your sons. Yep. And I guarantee you, they're paying attention. And look, those values they're so important, and you homeschool your kids, so they're getting it at home. And the point that I'm making is, this has been a transitionary period for so much of the world where they've just been told, all right, they've been told by their employer, see you in 3 or 4 months, just go home and figure it out how to do your job. Or even worse, and this is just the fact of the matter, but other people were told, sorry, got to lay you off, can't pay any severance, goodbye. And they're just at home, and they've got families, men and women. They've got families, they've got kids, and they don't know what to do because the economy is going down the tubes. So your dad could have easily gone a different route. And I've seen this countless times when I was growing up in Houston with an elementary school and middle school, fathers leaving, just disappearing, like literally just saying, I don't want to do this anymore. And they just disappeared. Happened to a really, really good friend of ours. Same thing with mothers disappearing as well. Happened to a classmate of mine. She was raised by her grandma because her father passed away, and her mother was like, I don't want to do this. I'm out of here. parents getting divorced because of that lack of trust, you know? Oh, you lost your job, you're a loser. I want a divorce. So it's just really, really important to build up that foundation in your household and to lead the way. Because look, life's not smooth. Life is not by any means smooth for anybody. You can be the wealthiest person in the world, you can be the nicest person in the world, and I guarantee you, life was not smooth. It was not smooth. So just take some time today to think about how you're leading your family. How is your kid viewing you? Are you that mother who's going to the dollar store and fighting over toilet paper while your daughter's watching you? Or are you that father who's slowly making calculations and thinking about how best to take care of his family? So it's your choice on how you want to be, but I just hope that you make the right decision. You take the time to reflect on all these different things.
Yeah, I completely agree. So everybody, don't forget to check us out, www.workfromhomeshow.com. You can hear all of our previous episodes. That's www.workfromhomeshow.com. So until next time, keep on leading from home.